This is lecture number 23, Understanding Climate Change Beliefs Dynamics. Beliefs matter. Two definitions of beliefs. One may be beliefs about probabilities of events, such as if I flip a coin, what is your belief that it'll be heads versus tails? And such subjective assessments affect your behavior. If you believe that all Chinese restaurants give you a stomachache, you'll never go to one. And so these feed through expected utility decisions, calculations, and this affects your choices under uncertainty. Another definition of beliefs is it's your worldview. You believe that the poor are poor because capitalism is unjust. And in that case, in part because of your belief, you support redistribution and you didn't vote for Mitt Romney. These are simple examples of how beliefs map into important choices. Here's the main issue I want to discuss today, and let me explain this picture related to belief dynamics and group identity, and there's several puzzles in this picture. Time goes from 1997 till 2008. On the vertical axis is the percent, which can only be between 0 and 100, of respondents from some random sample who agree with the following statement: the effects of global warming have already begun. On the graph are two lines. The data, perhaps 1,000 or 2,000 people, has been divided into Democrats and Republicans, and for each of these subsets, the share who agree with that statement, that global warming has already begun, are graphed. In the year 1997, there was roughly equality between the parties. 52% of Democrats believed that the effects of global warming had already begun, and 48% of Republicans agreed, only a 4% gap. Over time, as climate shocks have occurred and as climate scientists have grown even more concerned about climate change over this 10-year period, notice the divergence. In the year 2008, the final year of the data, only 42% of Democrats agree with this statement, while 76%, I said that wrong, only 42% of Republicans agree with this statement, while 76% of Democrats do. So that's a gap, a huge gap in 2008 of 34 percentage points. Why the divergence? In some Bayesian world where we all have a prior and then we update based on the same information, how can there be divergence? And I think a key issue here, which social scientists need to engage in, is this interaction of group identity and beliefs. Somehow climate change has become Al Gore's issue, and I think many smart Republicans say, if Al Gore is worried about it, I'm not worried about it. And so it's sort of this counterspin. If you reject that model, and I think it's important to work on this, how do you explain this divergence over time? That there's been a slight reduction among Republicans, 15%, 6 percentage points, of agreeing with the statement that global warming has already begun, while at the same time, Democrats saying this has gone up by 24%. I think this is a key salient example of how different people can process the same information differently. And it poses a challenge to Bayesians. It raises this issue of that there's a group, Democrats in this case, who have a group identity, and Republicans who perhaps have a different identity, and that beliefs are evolving in part because of this identity as news arrives. And I think this is a very important issue because for public policy, because many environmentalists, including myself, are deeply disappointed that there has not been bipartisan support for carbon pricing and for cap and trade legislation. And this graph explains why. We don't have a firm explanation for why the Republican line looks this way, but taking these data as true, this shows you the challenge we face in a democracy in enacting these policies. So I want to end, and this is my last slide, with shocking events. Environmentalists hope that there's some event that could get Republicans over the hump and believing in the challenge of climate change and willing to take costly action. So could it be that a silver lining of Hurricane Sandy or heat waves shocks moderate Republicans into being willing to do something about these issues? This is an empirical literature related to event studies. Event studies are usually done by asset pricing guys. So a company, Facebook, announces that its earnings are surprisingly high, and how much do we see the price jump during that new news window? A challenge here is, are we forgetful? As time passes after the shocking Hurricane Sandy, do we start to forget about it again? How persistent are these effects?